Here with Pete Bennett, who is of course, our YouTube master. Sorry for my absence last week. I couldn't help it, but my buddy Todd was able, apparently, to step in and do a great job. So again, Pete, this is now we're getting to the exciting part. Part 3 is getting monetized, making the money. How's that work?
Making the money. Yeah, we all want to make some money on YouTube, don't we? And the good news is there are lots of ways of making money on YouTube. We're going to cover today some of the quickest, some of the most popular, but it's by no means an exhaustive list. But I think if I was starting out on YouTube, some of the things that we're going to talk about today would be my approach to start making some bucks quickly, because everybody wants a quick buck, don't they?
Sure.
So let's just go through the agenda, what we're going to cover today. We've got a lot of material, and as usual, Fred, please dive in and
I will, Pete, don't worry.
And should also make it clear that we don't have the chat open today, because last week we had the chat open and it was difficult to get everybody's questions answered. So with respect to questions, there is a live Q&A session 2 weeks today. So if you hold questions until then, we'll have the whole session basically answering questions.
Yeah, but please write them down, folks. If you have your questions, write them down and get ready for 2 weeks from today, when we'll take care of those in depth and in detail.
Yeah, and that way everybody's questions will be answered in full to the best of my ability. So let's have a look what we're going to do. Talking about different ways of getting monetized, and all of the ways of getting monetized, of course, are predicated on getting views to your videos. So we're going to have a session on making videos which will actually get views. We're going to talk about how we can make videos that are so good that getting subscribers will be inevitable. Now, I've mentioned a couple of times on this course that I think there is a preoccupation, perhaps, or an unhealthy focus on getting subscribers. Subscribers are needed, as we'll see, to monetize in some ways, but not always. And by focusing on subscribers, we tend, sometimes at least, to not focus on what matters and what will inevitably lead to subscribers. So let's return to subscribers later on when we get to the AdSense monetization section. Thumbnails, talk a little bit about thumbnails. Thumbnails are really undervalued, I think, in terms of how much emphasis people put on them. That people generally make a video and then think about the thumbnail and do a half-hearted job of one of the most important bits on the YouTube real estate. Talk about playlists. Playlists, again, number of channels that I review and I see they either have no playlists or they've given very little thought to the strategy of playlists. And there's some sort of hidden bonuses of doing good playlists, which I'll also talk about. And then key takeaways and homework, how I love setting homework. But unless we actually do the work, no point in doing any of this, really, is there? This is going to be an interesting yomp, good academic exercise, perhaps. But unless you actually start doing the work, might as well not bother, to be honest.
Speaking of doing the work, Pete, what do you think is an honest appraisal of the amount of hours one should spend on a daily or weekly basis to really make this work? Or does that depend?
Well, like everything, it depends. But here's what I normally advise people is pick a length of time or a commitment that you're comfortable with enough to be consistent. So, okay. I think, with some of the software, Pictory, for instance, and some of the other editors, if you're making short videos or relatively short videos, you can probably make a video in an hour or 2 hours. So I would suggest that you need to dedicate 1 or 2 hours, maybe 3 hours a week to this at minimum, if you're going to do a video a week. But what I see a lot of people do is say, right, I'm going to do a video a day. And they do, to be honest, they do. They get a video a day out for 3 or 4 weeks, maybe even longer, a couple of months. And then, like everything, fatigue sets in and they stop making videos. And it would have been a lot better to do 1 video a week and keep it going for months rather than just doing 1 a day and keeping it going for weeks. So don't stress too much.
Cool.
Again, I'll use the gym analogy. How many times a week are you going to go to the gym? Twice a week? Then do it. But don't promise 5 times and then burn out. Okay, so let's move on to the first slide. These, I think, and I've thought long and hard about this while I've been preparing this session are the best ways to make money on YouTube. And by best, I mean a combination of the highest amount of money, the quickest time to start earning, and the least complexity and commitment. So they all have different different dimensions which are for them and against them. And I'm going to go through each, and I'm going to explain the pros and cons of what these are, along obviously with what they mean. So the first one here is sell someone else's product. And this is affiliate marketing in effect, if you want to call it that. The next is authority, and this is building yourself up to be the expert and claiming the niche. This is very powerful, tends to be a little bit of a longer term strategy. Patreon and Ko-fi. Digital begging, I think, is a good way of describing it. Nice. But it's a bit more sophisticated than that, and there is a value exchange which works very well for some people. And then the big daddy here, AdSense. When people talk about being monetized on YouTube, they're normally referring to AdSense, but I put AdSense at the bottom here really to emphasize that it's not the only game in town, nor is it always the best one. There are definite disadvantages to AdSense, as we'll see.
And for the uninformed, Pete, explain what AdSense is for those who might be first-time YouTubers.
Yeah, sure. AdSense is where you get money directly paid by YouTube into your AdSense account, which is a Google mechanism, which means that advertisers who are advertising on YouTube pay you a percentage of that advertising revenue. So most people, when you see discussions about getting monetized, see this as the holy grail. It can be, but there are some downsides with it, as we'll see as we go through the slides. Can you think of anything on there that I've missed? Anything that would be of interest that is not on that slide?
Not really, but I just heard a lot of discussion. I was on a podcast that I was watching yesterday, and I'm going to bring up examples because Steven Crowder, who is a very big YouTuber and internet personality, was talking with this guy named Bet David, his last name, and they were talking about some issues. So I may have some questions that were brought up as a result of that. But please go ahead.
Okay, cool. So that's great. More questions, the better. Let's have a look then at the first one here, which is selling someone else's product. So the basic idea of selling someone else's product is that you recommend a product that someone else has already made, and then when somebody buys that product, you get a commission. And there's really two ways of doing this. The first one we're going to look at is selling someone else's product via a marketplace, and then we're going to look at selling individual products. So these are just a few of the marketplaces which are out there. Commission Junction, CJ Affiliate, used to be called Commission Junction, is one of the biggest and oldest ones. And if you sign up for an account there, they will give you lots and lots of products and lots of offers, lots of pre-made sales letters, even websites, sales funnels, everything that you need in order to promote another software product, typically software, not always, but usually. And the advantage of that is that you don't need to do any work, really. You've got all of the assets that you need. You should perhaps customize them to match your own brand. But of course, as with all of the things that we're going to talk about, the one thing that they don't give you and can't give you is the audience. So that's where your YouTube channel comes in. If you've built a YouTube channel all about a specific niche, let's say, for instance, some of the really big channels review Apple products, and then they would promote affiliate deals which are related to Apple products, such as, I don't know, the iPhone, the Ninja Guide to iPhone tricks you never knew existed, all that kind of digital stuff. Or dog training is the one that's always mentioned, isn't it? So you'd have a channel all about dog training, and then somebody on Commission Junction or CJ Affiliate and ClickBank and possibly even Amazon. I'll come to Amazon in a moment.
Let me just interject that the biggest money total that I have made was years ago. I was involved remarketing a product that was the predecessor of ClickFunnels called One Shopping Cart, and my version was webmarketingmagic.com. It made me close to $1.5 million, and I did no work, merely by recommending it. So for those of you who tend to be on the let's make a YouTube channel, but I don't really want to do a lot of work, this is my suggestion that you look very seriously into these items that Pete has up on the screen right now.
Yeah, I mean, I've previously done gigs with affiliates, and also I run an affiliate program, which I'll come on to as well. So I've seen it from both sides of the fence, and it really is a very good way of getting quite large sums of money quite quickly, so long as you have a really good presence. Some of the things that people do wrong, though, are that they try and, as always, not be a one-trick pony. Fred, when you were away last week, we talked about being a one-trick pony. In other words, being really focused on a niche so that you know exactly the type of person that you're talking to when you talk to your audience. So, to use the dog training again, there'd be no point me trying to sell people who are really into Labradors stuff on, the best iPhone tricks if they weren't iPhone users, or, how to make your pony do tricks, even if they're into Labradors, because Labradors are not ponies, nor are they iPhones. So again, if you can find a really good offer that serves your niche well, then it's great, because you can make lots of money. It also saves you having to make your own product. If you've ever tried to make a digital product, whether it be training or anything else, it can be a lot of work to make a product. Why do that work when somebody else has already done it for you? And possibly.
However, just as a quick aside, what we're creating here will be available for sale through us at some point when done. And I would love to, and I'm catching you off guard here, Pete, allow those people who are on board to sell our product as an affiliate.
Absolutely. And it's a really good example, actually. To put this series of training together has been, well, days of work right now, but years of work if you take into account getting the expertise in YouTube over the time. So rather than having to acquire YouTube expertise and product expertise, if your people want to sell this course, then we've done all the work for them. It's a very good example. So yeah, thanks for that. That's great. So CJ affiliate, ClickBank, kind of the same thing in many ways, slightly different terms perhaps, but go in and check both of those out. There's another one which is very popular, and it's called the Amazon affiliate program, or Amazon partner program, however they call it, Amazon Associates. Lots of YouTubers do this, particularly when they're recommending, I don't know, let's say they've just reviewed a mouse or something. They'll say, you can go and get this using the Amazon links in my description, and they get a very small percentage profit from those.
I do have a comment there, Pete, which is, and I'm sure you were maybe just about to say this, which is when you're selling a digital product, the seller can give away a nice chunk of commission. Whereas if you're selling Amazon products, which are physical products, the amount of money that Amazon gives you per sale is woefully low. Although you may make as much or more money, you're making a much lower percentage doing Amazon or physical products.
That was exactly the point that I was going to make. I mean, the percentages, are derisory in some cases, like 1 or 2%. I think the biggest percentage I could see was something like 20%, and that was on some digital products. I mean, I hasten to say it's hardly worth bothering with, but it's not the place I would go first. Commission Junction, affiliate stuff, CJ affiliate, ClickBank, 40%, 50%. I've even seen 60 and 70%.
I would just add one thing there, Pete, which is that if you're in a specific niche and you're watching or listening to this program now, what I would do is Google the term bird training affiliate programs. If you're in the bird training business, and go to those people directly and ask them, or look on their site if they have an affiliate program, because if you go direct to the manufacturer or the producer of the digital product, you may be able to negotiate or get as good or better a rate than you would. And CJ may not have them listed. ClickFunnels, ClickBank may not have them listed, but they may have a program directly that you can access.
Yeah, that's very well worth looking at, because a lot of these, well, all of these marketplaces take their cut as well. So the people who are making the product that is being sold would be paying commission to them and commission to you, and therefore sometimes you can cut out the middle guy by going directly to them. Talk about bird training. I remember, I think it might have been Vegas. I was in Vegas, yeah, and one of these conferences that you and I go to occasionally, and there's a guy there doing $1 million a month on parrot training.
Yeah, it sounded like Frank Kern got us started with that, I remember.
Yeah, something like that. But apparently parrots are really horrible things that, everybody buys them and they're really sweet until they become about that big and start attacking the sofa and attacking the cat. So yeah, they were doing $1 million a month on those kind of products. So there is money to be made on it.
Yes.
So that's selling other people's product and you'd source them through a marketplace. The other one I think is more akin to what you're saying, is to go directly to individual sites or individual vendors that you like or have some affinity with. And I'm going to use the one that I run for Pictory as a really good example of this, because I designed the whole affiliate program based upon my experience of being an affiliate, so that it ticks most of the boxes that you should look for when you go to look for someone else to be an affiliate for. I mean, clearly we'd love it if you become an affiliate of Pictory, but if that's not your niche, then make sure that when you go to other people that you try and tick off these particular characteristics. So the things that a good affiliate program will have is that they're free to join. I have seen it where people want you to pay money up front to join their affiliate program. Now, to me, that kind of stinks, because they definitely get your money. You'll only make money if you make sales. And I'd just be very wary of that. It's a little bit like those scams, isn't it? Where you have to send them $20 to make a transfer to your bank account. Yeah, and it never happens. So be careful. Look for something which is free to join. Look for something where you get both affiliate links and you get coupon codes. Now, the way that affiliate programs normally work is that you'll be issued with a link that you then promote on your YouTube channel or your website or your social media or anything else. And when somebody clicks on that link and goes and buys that product, the very clever software behind the scenes attributes that sale to you and then pays you money. That mechanism is never going to be 100% efficient, because if I went on my phone and initially found the site and then I went back home and bought the product on my desktop, there's a chance that link won't be tracked and I won't get the commission. Affiliate programs where you get an affiliate code are a lot more secure, because if I go to the site directly and then use your affiliate code when you make the sale, it doesn't matter whether I initially found it on an iPhone and then paid for it on my Mac or on my PC, the affiliate code will always track. So wherever you can, use a code rather than a link.
Good point.
Lifetime recurring commissions. There's a lot of programs out there where you only get commission for the first 3 months or so. And I don't think that's fair, because that means that the vendor who is benefiting from those sales gets to keep the profit forever, but they only give you the first 3 months of that profit.
This fits in very well with my own program called Dynamic Equity Integration, in which not only do I get paid forever, so do my kids.
Yeah. So I think it's not always easy to get this, but I think if you possibly can get lifetime recurring commissions, or at least, I don't know, let's say 3 years rather than 3 months, the longer the better, lifetime being the ideal. Different tiers. So with our affiliate program, we have different tiers. When you first join, you're a standard affiliate, and then you go up, you become a VIP, you become a super, you become a mega. And the more that you sell, the more that we reward you. So you get things like, as I put down here, bonuses and competitions, and your percentage goes up as you become a more important affiliate. And I think that's only right. Why should you only ever get, I know, let's be silly to make a point, but I have seen this 5% for the first 3 months, when you can get more and more. We start at 20%, for instance. So you can get.
And by the way, this is very similar to when people are getting compensated for sales of any sort, which is the proper sales compensation model gives them a greater percentage as they make more money, not less.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So, at our top level, people are getting 50% of the sale price forever. So
perfect.
That's pretty cool. But if you ever run an affiliate program, be careful, because here's the shtick that you'll get from people. Give me a free account and give me 70% commission and I'll send you millions of views. Never happens. Make people work for it. And that's the reason why we have these tiers, so that the more deeply integrated you are with our sales, then the more rewarded you are. And you should look for that in other affiliate programs as well. I've mentioned bonuses and competitions. The only thing here is to be careful of is I've put 2 levels here. That means, without getting too complicated, that if somebody who signs up and buys the product through you then becomes an affiliate, you automatically get a percentage of their commissions as well. This is not the same as multi-level marketing where there's no product.
Let me jump in to say that here in the States, it becomes multi-level when it goes to the 3rd tier. So if you're involved in any kind of a program in which you see 3 tiers, I would be nervous, because it means some kind of, they're going to run afoul of the law.
Yeah. So just be very careful of that. So we have 2 levels. I wouldn't do any more than 2 levels, even though the technology we use allows you to do as many as you want. The other thing at the bottom here is assets. So much like when you go through one of the one of the marketplaces, they give you website templates, they give you email swipes, they give you all sorts of other stuff. Look for an affiliate program that gives you things like graphics to use in adverts and things. Otherwise you'll have to make them yourself.
You skipped competitions. Let me just go back to that and say that one of the things that makes affiliate programs kind of cool is that a lot of them are set up in such a way that if you achieve a certain level, that you're in the top 10% or the top 1% or whatever it is, you get additional bonuses over above your compensation that in the right affiliate programs can be kind of cool. Does PictoryAi have something like that?
Yeah, I mean, we did a promotion. I think the last one we did was Valentine's Day, and we gave our VIP and above affiliates, I think it was $1,000 for being the top affiliate on top of all of the commissions that it already got. So yeah, we're not giving away Ferraris and things like that, which I've seen internet marketers do, but we actually do give away significant sums of money. And if we have a look at this promoter earnings on the right, these are the top few promoters or affiliates, and that's what we paid them in January. So $14,000 in January is not bad for somebody, is it?
And then I might add that what you can sometimes do, Pete, is take and approach your top earner, like they're the person making 14,000 X amount of dollars, and ask them if they don't mind to come on and do something like this, some kind of a webinar to show what techniques and systems they're using. And that then further high tide raises all boats. They can show everybody what they're doing and enhance their status, and at the same time raise everyone else up.
And my colleague Joshua has been tasked with putting some of that promotional stuff together, probably in April. It's March as we're recording this now. So yeah, very good. Anyway, I'm not pushing the PictoryAi affiliate program particularly. I'm just saying, if you go and have a look at that site, make sure that, or just see if you can find other things that tick as many boxes as you can, because I've designed that quite carefully, I think, to cover most of the things that would be attractive to an affiliate, and hence why the affiliate program is really blowing up nicely. Okay, so just to summarize then, some tips for affiliate, if you're making affiliate videos. Things that work really well are comparison videos. So you could do PictoryAi versus Final Cut, or generally X versus Y. People absolutely love this, and they'll do searches on YouTube to try and find out which of 2 products is best if they're in the market and are undecided. So another reason that's really good is it's great because you get keywords in the titles. So if this was PictoryAi and Final Cut, then you've got 2 quite highly searched terms within the title, which is great for SEO. It also means if you're an affiliate for PictoryAi and also an affiliate for, I think it's Apple, isn't it, that make Final Cut, then if somebody buys 1 or 2 of those from the links in your video, then you're going to get a commission either way. But be honest about this. Don't try and hide the fact that you're doing a paid review. You should make that very clear. Other ones are changed my life. So if you had PictoryAi changed my life, here's why, or Fred's Alsatian training changed my life, here's why. People always want to see a transformation, and again, that's very likely to get played. It's a great title.
I have a selfish question to ask right here. So in my program that I'm marketing, it's a high ticket, close to $10,000 offering to get into my program. I'm wondering, do you feel that at the high ticket numbers for coaching programs, a lot of which is delivered one-on-one as opposed to one-on-many, is it worth it to consider doing affiliate deals?
To sell the product, you mean?
Yes, to sell my program, say for $9,800, which has a lot of fulfillment cost, is it a good idea to look for and solicit affiliates?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think you need to be giving away 50% or high percentages. If it's a high ticket offer, then a smaller percentage will obviously equate to a larger amount of money for the affiliate. And if you can possibly get testimonials affiliates from people who could then be affiliates, that would be really good.
Yep.
So you talking about how good your program is nowhere near as successful in terms of conversion than somebody else saying how much you changed their life.
Correct.
Because no one cares about your program. They care about the change it made in their life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, that's good. I've seen lots of people do very, very well in the high ticket coaching using affiliate type stuff. They generally call it referrals as opposed to affiliates, but it amounts to the same thing. Honest reviews, say, include pros and cons. So it's okay, by the way, to say some things which are negative about a product. If you say something that's negative, you're actually more likely to make sales than gushing over it and hiding the downsides.
In the copywriting field, we call that the painful admission.
Yeah, because everybody knows nothing's perfect. It's just the ways that it's imperfect may not matter to the person that's watching. So honestly, be honest. Simple as that. Some SEO tips: include the product name in the title. YouTube reads from left to right, so if you can get the name of the product right up there on the left. In the description, first 2 lines are very important in the description, and I said include your discount code in there, because unfortunately with the way that YouTube works, sometimes if people click on a link that you put in the description, it won't carry over the part of the link which is your YouTube affiliate code. So that's getting a bit technical, but if you put a discount code in there and say, go to my site or go to the site and put in this discount code at checkout, that's the most reliable way of making sure that you'll get credited. And
just to let everyone know, I'm going to put in, Pete is going to review and show some of my contact information and some of my links and beat me up on some things here. He hasn't planned to do that, but I'm going to have him do that next time. Before
you want a free audit? Okay, yeah, no problem. I can show you some tips to help increase conversions on those. Yeah, I've mentioned tags at the bottom here. Tags not that important, but why not include the product name within the tags? We could do a whole session on tags. It's very, very boring subject, but people misunderstand tags and think they're important for things that they're not. But yeah, stick the product name in the tags and be done with it. Here's an example of one of our affiliates, Eddie. I think he could be a mega affiliate now. I don't know. He's certainly a super affiliate or a VIP affiliate. But this is an example of a review that he did for us. So you can see Pictory review, Pictory being the first keyword in the title, and then he's just done a review for us, and he's made very good money on the back of that. Not difficult to do, actually. Excellent. Any questions before I move on?
That makes all good sense to me.
Okay, good. So here's some pros and cons of affiliates. Generally, it's quick to start. You don't need to wait for any of the YouTube, minimum monetization policies. It's easy to get search traffic. If you do videos with Pictory, you won't be up against the same amount of competition that you would be if you're doing dog training or something. So easy to get in there. There's opportunities in almost all niches here. So you can make very good money quickly with quite a small niche and quite a small channel. The commission in terms of percentages is often very big, 50% or more. You certainly want to be looking for north of 10 or 20%. And as I put here, you're not reliant upon YouTube suddenly deciding that you're not going to be monetized and that you don't qualify and then crossing you off. So a good way, actually. I think if I was starting from scratch, this is probably the way that I would go.
100%.
Yeah. Next one is authority. Now,
A lot of audio scratchiness there. I don't know where. Now it's gone.
see what I can do. Yeah,
No.
apologies. Yeah, the next one is building yourself up as an authority and an expert, using YouTube as a method of doing that. Now, one of the people that I come across all the time, I'm in the relationship in the relationship niche, and also very interested in psychology, is this lady here, Dr. Romani. Now, if you type anything to do with narcissism or narcissistic relationships into YouTube, she is absolutely all over the place.
Ubiquitous.
Completely. I mean, she's a guest on other people's channels. She has her own channel. She's got 1.3 million subscribers. Her channel is growing steadily and has been doing for a while. And the number of opportunities that she'll get for speaking, the number of opportunities that she'll get if she wanted to, I don't know whether she still does it, to do coaching and one-on-one sessions or group sessions with people. She doesn't need to go out and prospect for work, because she's owned the niche of dealing with people with narcissism. That's it. If you want narcissism advice, you go to her, and it's well worth checking her channel out, because the quality of her information is brilliant, and there's no doubt that she's the expert. I always say that by putting yourself out there in your niche and focusing on a niche and owning it, you're changing how people talk about you from the indefinite article to the definite article. So you're no longer an expert on narcissism. She's the expert on narcissism.
Tagging onto that, Pete, I heard a great line where the guy said, if you can raise people from the dead like Lazarus, you don't need to do more promotion.
Yeah. I like that. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. And yeah, so this won't be for everybody, but if you are in the business of selling yourself or building your personal brand, then YouTube is an amazing way of doing this, because it means when people speak to you for the first time, it feels like they've already been living with you.
I've got a follow-up to that. So in my case, I want people to come to me with regards to a very specific aspect of business. So my model is, as you know, to find and educate people on the beauties of creating equity partnerships, different than revenue sharing. So I want to become the foremost expert in that topic. I have some people that I know that are trying to do similar things. So would you suggest that I promote that very narrow area, or me more in general?
I would say promote you talking about that subject and that subject only.
That was what I was thinking of doing. Good.
Yeah. If you're also an expert in snake handling, for instance, you could have a separate channel, which was you, where you position yourself as the expert on all types of snakes.
Yeah.
But,
just don't do it together in the same channel.
Just don't mix it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, because all of us are multifaceted as human beings, and we have a tendency to want to combine all these into one place. And that's the wrong way to go with YouTube, it strikes me.
Completely the wrong way to go, because there's probably not many people that are that into snakes and into building equity partnerships.
Yeah, so the overlap is small.
Yeah, yeah. So let's have a look at pros and cons of building authority. Again, it's quick to get started. You already own everything you need, which is a phone and a face. You just need to concentrate on producing content. It takes time to get traction, though. It does take a while. I mean, you're not suddenly going to do I don't know where my little hands have gone. You're not suddenly going to do a YouTube video and then position yourself as an expert. But, once you've got 50, 100, 200 videos on there, then you are the expert. Try and get guest appearances on it.
I don't know, something you just did there created some audio interference.
Yeah, I'm not
really bad. So whatever that was, that was it.
Has it come back now?
It has, but it's still a little scratchy.
Let me see what I can do.
Let's leave it alone.
Yeah, is it okay?
Oh, it's okay, but now your audio is a bit low.
Okay.
Maybe speak in the mic.
let's see if I can bring that
Yeah,
back. Is
you're
that
good. Yes.
better? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So what was it? Where were we? What was I
Where
saying?
we're just getting started with the pros and cons and authority. So it's
Yeah.
quick to get started, but it takes time to get traction.
It takes time to get traction, but say once you've got 200 videos up there, then people will know that you're the expert. And try and also get guest appearances on other people's podcasts and things, because then not only are you saying that you're good, your authority and credibility is being conferred from the host. So
cross-pollination.
Yeah, so let's be silly again to make the point, but if you're on Joe Rogan, then suddenly Joe Rogan's credibility is conferred onto you. Otherwise, Joe Rogan wouldn't have you on his show.
Right.
Yeah, and it also for search, it means that you'll come up with lots more search results because you'll be on other people's videos. It changes the balance of power, and what I mean by that is
it builds slowly over time. We skip that.
Yeah, so again, you're not suddenly going to become famous, but you'll find that it's non-linear, in that the more videos that you put out there, the more reach you'll get and the more invitations you'll get, and therefore the curve, it's an overused phrase, it won't be exponential, but it certainly will be non-linear.
I have another interruption, if you don't mind. So in Bill's case, Bill DeWeese, who is my one partner who's in the voiceover niche, he has adopted a very contrarian view of how most voiceover people do their work. So he's kind of, they throw rocks at him all the time because of his approach, which is a much different approach than traditional. Do you suggest that people either stick with the status quo or attack the status quo?
Definitely attack the status quo.
Okay.
Everybody can be similar. Everybody can copy other people, but if you can come up with something unique, then you have a better niche, a better differentiation.
Excellent.
Yeah, definitely. So by changing the balance of power, I mean that you won't need to pitch, people will come to you, and your biggest problem is going to be dealing with the number of incoming requests for your time. And you might want to get a VA or somebody to help you with that if it comes overwhelming. You're selling round the clock, but you're not selling on price anymore. So remember, you're no longer a life coach, you're the life coach.
Yeah.
You're no longer a dog trainer, you're the dog trainer. And people don't then treat you as a commodity, and therefore you're no longer selling on price.
It's funny, just as a quick aside, when I was doing a lot of coaching early on 10, 15 years ago on online stuff, if somebody's name was rather generic, let's say John Smith, I would recommend that they reserve the John Smith.
Yeah. So everybody wants the definite article, not a copy and not a commodity. You've got multiple ways of monetizing this. Really, how you monetize it is entirely up to you. I mean, it's not difficult to sell a product when you're famous. And you don't need to be sort of household name famous. You just need to be famous within your niche. And again, it's not reliant upon YouTube monetization policies. So that's
to
really
inject a tad of humor, I'm at the airport a week ago, and I mentioned my name to someone, and someone else in line overheard it and said, "You're Fred Gleek?" And I'm like I immediately said, my response was, "Yes, folks, don't worry. I'm famous within a very small niche."
And that's what you need to be, because you only need to be famous amongst the sort of people that are going to ultimately buy from you or be of interest to you. Yeah. So again, this Lex Friedman, people may have heard of him. He's been doing this for a while. His channel's gradually growing. It's not going stupid, but the trajectory is north. And he's adding value and becoming a very well-known name. Maybe eventually he'll over.
Love me some Lex. Just saw an interview with him and Sam Harris last night.
Yeah. Great. Absolutely great. Okay, so those are the pros and cons of authority building. I now want to look at digital begging, which is Patreon and Ko-fi and sites like that. Really what this is asking people to make a donation or a tip to help you provide value to them. So some people, if you're using Patreon, for instance, they'll say, support me on Patreon, and then you'll get access to these videos a week earlier than everybody else. Or support me on Patreon and you'll get content that's not available to people on YouTube. It's only available to people who subscribe. And these can be quite small amounts of money, $10 a month, $5 a month even, right up to several $100s a month. But the trick with this is to provide value that people want to continue to subscribe to.
I have a question. I have a question.
Go
And again, I may be interrupting your thunder here. I have noticed in the channels that I watch, specifically, I'm a poker player, so I watch a lot of poker videos. There is the ability to, within YouTube itself, give money. Explain that to people.
Yeah, there is a way of doing that. Again, though, you run the risk of being of losing that revenue stream if your channel is considered to be in violation of the YouTube guidelines. So what YouTube actually got a bit worried because people were moving away from YouTube directly into Patreon and Ko-fi and various others. So then they've introduced this way of community memberships. But again, they own you. If people are subscribing on Patreon and YouTube closes your channel down, you could move all of your videos into a different platform and you haven't lost your revenue stream.
Got it. So if you were to become completely reliant on YouTube's, and do they have a name for that where you can basically give people a tip or whatever it is? I see it all the time. I mean, do they have a name for that YouTube does?
Yeah, on live streams and things, you can give them super chats and
super chat. Okay,
yeah, so, all sorts of things like that.
So can I have super chat and still have my Patreon or Ko-fi?
Yeah, completely, 100%. Yeah, you can. I would. It's quite, unless you've got a huge audience, it's quite difficult to make really good money on super chats and donations and things like that. Patreon and Ko-fi are solid platforms and they're independent, and over time you can build a very nice revenue stream from those.
One of the things that Kayla, my daughter who's the artist, was thinking of is when they set up the Patreon accounts to make it multi-tiered. Can you talk about that? How you can set up, like if you're a Patreon at $20 a month, you get this, but at $50 a month, you get this and this and this.
Yeah, and that's very similar in some ways to the affiliate program where you get different rewards and different benefits at different levels. So, you could set up gold, or bronze, silver, and gold levels, and at bronze level, then you get access to the YouTube videos a week early. At silver, perhaps you get access to videos which don't appear on YouTube, and perhaps at the very top level, maybe you get a one-on-one Q&A session with the person who's running the Patreon. It's really entirely up to you what value you want to add. Some people don't bother asking for any extra value. I mean, the laziest thing would be to say, if you like me, please support me on Patreon. And surprisingly, a lot of people will pay for what they can already get for free if they like the person and they want to support their endeavors.
And given that I'm the comic relief element of this duo here, I do want to explain that back in the many, many years ago, when talking about Tony Robbins and how he monetized his services and products, I would jokingly say that at the top tier of $1 million a year, you can go to Fiji and rub grape jelly in Tony's toes.
Oof, I'd pay $1 million not to have to do that, but some people really like him, don't they? So they'd do it. But surprisingly, a lot of people, if you ask, you get, I think is it Cialdini and in Principles of Influence or whatever it is. If you go up to someone in a queue and say, I'm in a real hurry, do you mind if I go in front of you? Quite often people will say, yeah, if it's no skin off their nose, that they'll do it. If you don't ask, you don't get. 100%. So yeah, there's no reason why not to ask. Difference between Patreon and Ko-fi, I mean, they're similar things. I think Ko-fi is a more modern and more recent addition, and I quite like their metaphor. Basically, you say, buy me a coffee, and you could say, make a $3 donation and just buy me a coffee. There's less emphasis.
Here's my question though, Pete, on this, and for everybody listening and watching, I want to make sure that they understand this because I think it's important. At Patreon, you can set up multiple tiers that go from X to 10, 100X. When someone says to me, buy me a coffee, even if I'm going to Starbucks and buying the double macchiato with cream on top and a cherry. It's a coffee to me is an under $10 item. Patreon is clearly a much different structure and can go all the way to hundreds of dollars. Explain.
Yeah, you can put as much, you can ask for whatever you want on Patreon. And Ko-fi also has different mechanisms for extracting money. Memberships, for instance, you could set up a membership where people pay you every month and you've got control over how much they pay. But I think Ko-fi concentrates more on the kind of casual, as you quite rightly say, go to Starbucks, throw $3 in there, buy me a coffee, buy you a coffee.
Yep.
It feels like less of a commitment.
Yeah.
Also on the site, it's more fun to set up. It's easier to set up for people that are not necessarily wanting to go into something which is highly structured and put a lot of marketing behind it. My suggestion would be start with something like Ko-fi, and if things start to go well, then think about adding more value and more layers in something like Patreon.
So any negative to having all, or say, for example, I had Patreon, Ko-fi, and Super Chat all together. Is that a bad thing to have multiple options for them to give me money?
I think the Super Chats and things like that, they don't really make much difference because you typically do them while you're using live streams and things, and they're in the moment. The main difference between these two is that Ko-fi is simpler and Patreon is more feature rich. The danger of having both of them is that confused buyers don't buy, confused donators don't donate. Yeah. So I would stick with one or the other. And my personal preference, if you're a newbie at this, is go for Ko-fi to start with, because it's less hassle to set up.
Yep.
It's less of an ask for people, therefore less of a commitment on you. So buy me a coffee. People will throw $3 at something that they like just because they like you, without necessarily expecting all of the value add, for multiple tens of dollars a month.
Perfect.
It's quite fun. And these are not the only two, but I think Ko-fi particularly is a good place to start.
Okay.
Okay. So let's go to the next one. So quick summary then. I think we've covered a lot of this, but quick and easy, cheap to get started. Sometimes it can be hard to persuade people to pay for what they're already getting for free, but that's when you become a salesperson, and that's how you would structure the value add that you put within Patreon and some of the other benefits that you can also offer on Ko-fi. If you're doing Patreon particularly at a high level, then you've sort of made yourself a job, in that you always need to be thinking, well, how can I deliver something which is more than what I'm putting out on YouTube? So, if you're going to ask for premium prices, then you have to provide regular premium content. One of the easiest ways to provide premium content is to put short videos or shorter videos onto YouTube, and then charge a premium. So just people that are your Patreon supporters get the full length video. That's, of course, if people want the full length video. Some people would prefer to watch 20 minutes of a video and they're done. Maybe they don't want to watch the whole hour and a half because 20 minutes is enough for them. But as with all of these things, experiment and test to get the most bang for your buck, or the most bang for your time, really, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And it goes without saying, again, not reliant upon YouTube monetization policies. So it doesn't really matter how many subscribers you've got. You could someone could buy you a coffee tomorrow. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So next one, let's go on to the big one, AdSense. This is what most people think about when they talk about getting their channel monetized. Before we dive into some of the detail, let's just have a look at what AdSense is. AdSense is where advertisers, big names, small names, some of the names you probably recognize from the slide, Starbucks, Honda, Ford, HP, whatever, whoever wants to advertise. And it could, lots of small people do it. PictoryAi advertises on this platform. I'm sure, I don't know whether you've done it yourself, Fred, but you don't need to be a big brand to do this. You can start small, but wherever the money comes from, the money goes into YouTube, or actually into the whole sort of alphabet company that owns YouTube and owns Google. From there, what happens is the adverts that the brands are paying for get displayed on YouTube adverts in various forms. and the viewers watch it. And when the viewers watch the adverts, part of that money goes to you as the creator, and part of it goes to these good-looking lads here who formed Alphabet. So the money is revenue shared. So it's a revenue split. So
And it's a very fair revenue share.
It's more than fair. I mean, you actually get more money than they do as a percentage. Yeah. You get up to 55% of the money that comes in. Alphabet gets 45%. So a lot of people bash the whole YouTube advertising thing, saying that it's arduous and there's lots of policies. Well, there are, which we'll come on to some of it in a moment. But effectively, what YouTube's giving you for free is video hosting. If you were to go to somewhere like Vimeo or some of the other independent hosters, you'd pay a lot of money to host a video, and you'd pay more money the more views those videos get. So YouTube is providing you free of charge a place to host as many videos as you want without ever having to pay them. And those videos are available globally, 24/7, some of the best quality delivery in the business.
However, Pete, I don't know if you mentioned it, but you need to mention the fact that in order for you to get to this split, you have to have and achieve a certain number. I think it's 4,000 hours or something.
That's on the next slide.
Now, Here I am getting ahead of myself.
So at a concept, when it's all working, this is how it works. So you get free YouTube hosting for your video worldwide, and YouTube's algorithms, as we'll see soon, will start to promote that to people who are likely to want to watch it and therefore are likely to pay you money, again, free of charge. They provide you a worldwide audience, so you don't have to market the video. The algorithms, and there are more than one of them, algorithms plural, as we'll talk about later, will market that video for you, and you sit there and you take over half of the money that the advertisers are giving. Now, that's not a bad deal. In return for that, you have to comply with some policies and meet some hurdles. And actually, I'm really glad that you do, because otherwise people would be uploading even more rubbish to YouTube and making the viewers' experience even worse.
Yeah.
And if YouTube didn't patrol who gets monetized and who doesn't, and didn't clamp down on rubbish, the advertisers, they wouldn't bother advertising with YouTube. They'd go to another platform.
Yep.
Maybe they'd go to Super Bowl advertising or something. So the fact that YouTube is strict is a good thing. We can argue that it's strict in some areas where it doesn't need to be. Without getting controversial, there's an awful lot of politics behind this, what you can say and what you can't say. But it has a set of guidelines for a reason, because it wants to protect the integrity of the videos so that advertisers are comfortable to advertise on and pay everybody. So as you alluded to, Fred, we need to look at what the criteria are for being approved for AdSense, and that's on this slide. This is from the YouTube website, and they've summarized it very, very nicely here. There are really two main types of video. There are long videos, which are longer than 1 minute, then called long form videos. And then there are shorts, which are these new types, or relatively new types of video, which YouTube introduced to try and compete with TikTok. And to get monetized on each of those, then you need a minimum of 1,000 subscribers. And I think this is where people get this obsession with subscribers. Got to get subscribers so I can get monetized. And I'll talk in a moment as to why I think that is the wrong focus. But you need that minimum of 1,000 subscribers. If you're making videos which are shown as long form videos, then you need 4,000 hours of watch time in the last 12 months. So you need minimum number of subscribers and number of watch hours. And concentrating on the watch hours, as we'll show later, will result in subscribers, but it also gets you over this hurdle of 4,000 hours. Now, technically, if one year you get less than 4,000 hours, then they can demonetize you. Very, very rarely happens. And to be honest, if you're only getting 4,000 hours of watch hours, 4,000 watch hours in a year, if you get demonetized, you won't notice, because it will be such a small amount of money that you're losing, you won't care. So don't worry too much about that. Shorts, I don't know. I'll say something fairly bold. If you're looking to make money, forget shorts, at least for the time being, because you need so many views, 10 million views in 90 days, just to qualify to get paid by shorts. And the mechanism for being paid by shorts, which I won't go into here because it does get quite complicated, basically means that it's very, very difficult to make money on shorts.
Does anyone make money on shorts? Big money?
Yeah, if you've got a really huge channel, you can make good money on it. But it's really, I'm guessing that most people that are watching this would not be in a position where it makes sense for them to concentrate on shorts for making money. It's just too difficult, and there are too many variables.
Gotcha.
Shorts are quite good for getting subscribers. It's often easier to get subscribers with shorts, but those subscribers are not particularly valuable when it comes to monetization. And by concentrating on shorts to get a bump of subscribers, you can damage your long-term prospects by attracting people who are interested in shorts, but then will not watch your long content.
So 99% of the people on this webinar or watching this after the fact should not be doing shorts.
That would be my suggestion, is do not concentrate on shorts.
Got it.
Yeah. It's just too difficult. And
you can wear the shorts while doing your videos, just don't do shorts.
Yeah. If making money on AdSense is your objective, and that, this is all of the other things that we've talked about. Shorts, great, fill your boots. AdSense particularly is what I'm talking about here.
Okay.
Yeah. Now let's talk about, before we go into the detail of some of the policy, I want you to look at this slide next, because this is the way that I want people to think about the context when they look at the other guidelines. And I'm going to highlight a few things in the monetization guidelines to be aware of. But this here is, I wrote his name down, Neil Mohan. Do you know who he is?
I do not.
Okay. He's now the CEO of YouTube. Used to be a lady called, I think it was Susan Wozniak, Susan something, I'm not sure of the surname, but it was Susan until very recently, a lady. But now it's Neil. Now, when you're thinking about getting your YouTube channel monetized, I want you to imagine that he's in his office and you're sitting outside, and you've got to go in and talk to the boss of YouTube and pitch to him why you think it's worth him or his company paying you money to put content on his platform. So what value are you giving? We'll go into the detail, but just if you're in the waiting room, you'd probably be a little bit nervous like these people. It's like, well, I put text to speech on my video. Why did I do that? Honestly, was it because I think that text to speech videos are far better and will provide more value to your users, Neil, than if I was to do my own voiceover? Do I feel confident? Could I say that, look him in the eyes and smile, or would I be kind of looking at my shoes and feeling a bit shifty? Or I bought this software for $19.99 and it allowed me to set up dozens of channels and produce hundreds of videos a week to upload, because I thought, Neil, that's what your users wanted, and that's the reason that I did it. Or would I be thinking, you know what, I was thinking I was going to try and game the system and make a few bucks by not doing much work? How would you feel if you were standing in front of Neil?
I would really be embarrassed.
Yeah. Or you'd think, you know what, it's quite difficult to lie with a straight face, because if you're honest, the reason that you're doing a lot of the tricks that YouTube is trying to stop is to save you time or money or work, everything else, isn't it? So I mentioned this in previous lessons, is we've got to be thinking about how we can add value to the viewers, not how we can make a quick buck.
Yep.
Because ultimately, Neil's got a team of PhDs working for him and almost infinite resources to try and get rid of the rubbish off of YouTube. And I wish him luck, frankly, because I don't want to watch rubbish. I'm a YouTuber.
I agree.
Yeah. So if we're sitting outside here like these good people, we need to have a clear conscience as to what we're doing on YouTube. And if we've got a clear conscience and we've got a clear mission and we've thought about the value that we're adding, all of the stuff that's coming up next in terms of problems with monetization, it's not going to affect us, because we're going to say, yeah, I'm glad, because that means I'm not in competition with people who are trying to game the system. So let's have a look at some of the bits from the policies that I've highlighted as issues and ways to not work around them, but ways that mean that they don't apply to us. So things that are not allowed on YouTube. First thing here is stuff that we didn't create ourselves. So, if we've copied things, it's like being at school, isn't it? Would we expect to be rewarded by copying somebody else's essay and claiming it as our own?
Mm-mm.
Not really. So don't do it. Don't go and copy somebody else's YouTube video. Don't download their script, make minor changes, and then upload it as your own, because
Okay.
in your heart you're copying it.
So it begs the current question, which is, if people who were on here or listening after the fact have gotten very into Chat GPT and are now creating their scripts for YouTube using Chat GPT, is there, and I've seen a lot of things, is there an algorithm that YouTube is using to detect AI generated content for videos?
Yes, there is. And I can show you ways of detecting AI just like that. Using ChatGPT, by the way, is not necessarily a no-no. And in next week's lesson, we'll be talking about how to use it ethically. But the key thing is, are we using it to help us add more value? Or are we using it because we think suddenly it's going to do the work for us?
Yep.
Yeah. Mindless content with low educational value. Again, are we just spitting stuff out using maybe ChatGPT or one of the other article spinners out there, stuff just to make filler videos where there's no value has been taken away by the user? Again, they use the word value over and over again. It's what are we giving to them, not are we taking from the platform.
Mm-hmm.
Mass produce. Again, there's lots of stuff out there, isn't there, where you can buy this software that will make hundreds of channels and spin out videos on autopilot. Who wants to watch that rubbish? Who wants to pay to be advertised and associated with that rubbish? Don't do it. Minimal or no narrative. One of the best ways of adding value is to use your own voice, or you could use an AI voice. There's nothing, incidentally, in any of the guidelines that specifically precludes people from using an AI voice. The only thing is, if you're using an AI voice, the chances are that you're using it in order to enable you to produce videos of the type of quality that they don't want.
And not only that, it's very bad for branding long term. If you ever get together with those people face to face or over the phone or in a webinar, you don't sound like the you that they know from YouTube.
Exactly. So AI voices have their place, but I would argue that if you were starting out, that the minimal time savings that you make in terms of the production of the voice track compared to the affinity and the branding and the fact that you'll create a better connection with your audience, it's better to use your own voice.
Yep.
I'll talk about how they actually go through and decide whether or not you'll be monetized soon. But using an AI voice is not against the rules. It's just lowering the probability of them finding in your favor. Reused content. So people used to do this a lot. I don't know whether they're still doing it, but they just go grab somebody else's content, mash it up a little bit, and then re-upload it. And they're adding no value in that process.
As you do this, I'm going to grab a quick snack, so I'll go dark for a second.
Yeah, you do that. I'll pop a Coke as well, because I'm getting a bit hoarse here. So again, what value are you using? Are you giving? Okay. Well, Fred's gone. I'll move on to the next slide.
Yep.
Spam. Okay, video spams. Everyone's familiar with spam in their inbox with email, and really video spam is a derivative of that same kind of thing. So many of these points are similar to the ones that I've just mentioned. Really, posting the same content across different channels, that used to be a thing. You used to be able to get away with that. So we'd have hundreds of channels with pretty much the same content. Now you can't get away with that. Uploading lots of content that you've scraped from other creators, that's copying again, isn't it? And again, auto-generated content. So these are some of the specifics. And again, if we go back to that slide, if you've done some of this, you'll know this guy here is a bit worried, isn't he? He's thinking, yeah, I might get rumbled. But when you go for monetization, when you've got your 1,000 subscribers and your 4,000 hours of watch time, and you submit your channel for monetization, just because you've complied with the 4,000 hours and the 1,000 subscribers doesn't mean that they owe you monetization. It means that you can be considered for monetization. And before the decision's made, a real human will go and look at your channel, and they'll look at the quality of the videos. They'll look at the ones that you've recently uploaded. They'll even check things like your channel art. They'll check your thumbnails. They'll basically say, is this person adding value to the YouTube viewers? If not, then they'll deny monetization, and they're the judge, the jury, and the executioner.
Will they tell you why?
They usually tell you why in a rather cryptic way, but you know what? Most people actually in their heart, they know why. It's because they've tried to game it. Sometimes they make mistakes and you can appeal, but most of the time when people are not monetized, it is fair, although it can be frustrating in that if you've made a genuine mistake, it's a question of reading between the lines to find out which of these myriad of rules you may have run foul of.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. So let's assume now that we understand the 3 ways of getting, or 3 or 4 ways of getting monetized. All of those are predicated on getting videos which are played and viewed and enjoyed. I'm going to take you now through the way to start and the way and things that you should concentrate on to grow your channel. The first thing is to understand the concept of the algorithms. Deliberately said algorithms with an S, because most people refer to the YouTube algorithm and they refer to SEO, search engine optimization. Not really correct terms in the YouTube space, because although we look for search and we look initially, the main video views you're going to get is when you've moved past search and you're into suggested. So what we're doing is we're training the algorithms to find audiences for your videos. So again, the analogy here is this lady here. Look, she's training a variety of dogs, and she's training those dogs to work for you. And lots of the stuff which is online about how to beat the YouTube algorithm is not trying to train the dogs to work for you. It's about how to fight the dogs. And you're not going to be able to fight the algorithms. There's too many of them. They're too clever. And why would you want to, when if you get them on your side, they will work for you and bring you in viewers, which ultimately, if we go back to this slide up here, is in everybody's interest. So trying to fight the algorithm and come up with tricks that are going to give you a short-term boost actually is counterproductive. This is what we want.
In that thought, I was just thinking that the CEO, and what's his name again? I forget.
Neil, yeah.
So with Neil, if he were to look at the presentation, this multi-part series that we've done here, there would be nothing that he would be upset with or disagree with, would he?
No, absolutely not, because we are effectively telling people to play by the rules.
Yeah.
But the value that we're adding here is explaining
what are the rules?
What are the rules, how to play by them most effectively. Yeah. So no, I'd be very happy if Neil was watching this. I'd like to think that he would say, good job, guys. I wish everybody was doing things the way that you're teaching them rather than trying to game the system.
Cool.
Yeah, good point. So we want to start with search, and then we want to get the algorithms trained so that the suggested algorithm kicks in, and that's when we start to really take off. So let's have a look at search to start with. So with search, the reason that we need to target search is because when our channel is new particularly, there's no other way that people are going to find us, because the algorithms don't know us, and therefore they can't place us in front of an audience because they know nothing about our audience and they know nothing about what our video is about. So our job is to give the search algorithms clues so that they can be found. And then the algorithms will build a profile of the type of person that's going to want to watch your videos. And then the suggested algorithms will go out almost like salespeople and go and find a constituency that would be interested in watching those types of videos based upon videos that they already watch. So we're training the algorithm, and it starts with search. So here's an example of how we would do this in a particular niche. One of my niches is relationship advice, and one of the most popular search terms happens to be get your ex back, or how to get your ex back. So if I want to target get your ex back as a search term, then the most important thing is to put it right at the very beginning of the title. So I would suggest using something like get your ex back, powerful tips which actually work, because that means that when the search algorithm sees this, it's very obvious that this video is about how to get your ex back. And people who have obviously want to get their ex-lovers back, they will be typing that into the search bar. I put it in the title. I've got 100 characters. You don't necessarily need to use all of the 100 characters, but put the keyword right at the very beginning of that of the title, so that YouTube's algorithm can find it easily. You've then got the description with 500 characters, and what I suggest is that you put the "get your ex back" keyword right near the very beginning of the title of the description, so that again we've got another chance for the search algorithm to index this and find that this video is all about get your ex back. We have tags. Tags are sometimes overused. I suggest that all of your videos have a set of common tags, which are tags which describe all of the videos on your channel. So in this instance, I've got love advice, dating tips, get my ex back, but they are the common thread through most of the videos on my sites. And then I've got specific tags which go into more detail about what's in this particular video. So common tags are often the same tags that you'd put on your channel, and we covered that last week, but put those in all of your videos and then put tags which are specific to that particular video into the tags.
Best practices for total number of tags per video?
As many as makes sense without diluting the theme. So you've got up to 500, but don't feel you need to use all 500. In fact, if you put more in and start going off topic, you'll damage it rather than enhance it.
Got it.
Another thing to use is playlists. When you produce a playlist, you produce another asset that YouTube's search algorithms can index. So it's almost like you're producing a new video. Just producing a new playlist is the same in terms of signals to the search algorithm as producing a new video. Very easy to produce playlists. It just a few clicks of the mouse and you've produced a whole new playlist.
However, I think that all the videos I now watch have the auto-generated playlists. The benefit of having you doing the playlist versus YouTube doing it for you automatically.
You're talking, I think, rather than about playlists, you're talking about the chapters.
Yes. Right.
Yeah, we covered chapters last week.
Yeah.
Chapters are almost like a table of contents that show people where in the video particular parts of the video start and end. And as I mentioned last week, they are a really good way of putting extra keywords into the description and also being found within search within Google. So it's really good to put
I'll go back and review last week.
Yeah. And a sort of power tip on that is try and put the chapters at points in the video where people are unlikely to click off, so that you keep people engaged, so that you can then put a mid-roll advert just after the chapter starts. Now that's getting quite advanced, but if you say something like, and now I'm going to explain how to save your rabbit's life at the beginning of a chapter, nobody is going to stop watching that if their pet rabbit is about to die. They will watch through a video ad that you've then manually placed just after the start of the chapter. And that's another reason to do it purposefully yourself rather than let YouTube's algorithm do it. But playlists are literally like a list of videos which are all strung together with the same topic. And there are two types of playlists. There are series playlists and regular playlists. Think of series playlists like a box set on Netflix. So all of the videos which are in a particular series and are generally supposed to be watched one after another would be in a series playlist. And then regular playlists can just have any video in any order, and one video can be in as many regular playlists as makes sense. But each video can only be in one series playlist. And my contention is that every video that you make should be in a series playlist. it's quite advanced and it gets a bit complicated. But just think, every time I make a video, which series playlist am I going to put it in, and which other regular playlists am I going to add it to?
Makes sense.
Yeah. So to use this one as an example, I have a whole playlist on my channel which is all about how to get your ex back. The channel is about relationship advice in general, covering many different dimensions, but I have a playlist which is all the videos which are get your ex back, and that's a series playlist. I then also add the videos to as many regular playlists as makes sense. So this particular video that I'm talking about also talks about the no contact rule, and it's also about breakup and breakup advice. So I add it to the series playlist, get your ex back, and then I also add it to the regular playlist, no contact rule and breakups and breakup advice. And that's a lot of keyword goodness for the search algorithm to index, which means that they get found very easily on YouTube. Okay, so that's really how we appeal to the search algorithms, but that will get us so far when we start off. But once we start to get really popular, the majority of traffic will not come from search, it will come from suggested. Now, at this stage, we have a lot more leeway as to what we can talk about, and it matters much less about how well our videos are individually optimized. But this is stage 2, not stage 1. This channel here, my nursery rhyme channel, you can see that actually 97% of the traffic, I know this is very small, but this number here says 97%. 97% of the views altogether that come onto this video have nothing to do with search. Less than 1% of the views, and this video, you know, has millions of views, tens of millions of views, has come from search. That's because over time, I've trained the algorithms to go out and find viewers who like nursery rhymes, who are not necessarily searching for the title of this particular video, which is called The Wheels on the Bus. But that comes as the algorithms are trained. And it's one reason why I always tell people, and we mentioned this again briefly last week, when you start a YouTube channel, don't go and tell everybody to go and watch your videos, because you'll have people coming in, you know, who have no interest in the content, maybe your mom, you know, your family, friends, watching your videos and then completely confusing the algorithm as to what's a typical user or typical viewer of that type of video, and therefore making it more difficult for the suggested component of the algorithms to go out and find a wider audience for your videos. So you'll get a short-term endorphin boost, dopamine boost, when you see your views coming in, but to the longer-term detriment of the video. Does that make sense?
Yep, 100%.
Yeah. So I know when channels are taking off, when I'm getting more views from suggested than I am from search. But initially, search is where you should concentrate on. So how do we transition from search to suggested? What are the main things that we should be looking to do in order to make sure that our channel blows up? Well, these are the main ones. Click-through rate. That's how many people click on the video having seen the video and have been given the opportunity to click on it. How long do they stay on the video when they've clicked on it? And then right at the very bottom, there is some evidence to suggest that correctly tagging the videos can help with this. But the tags at the bottom, if I had to concentrate on 2, I'd forget the tags, but tags are always in there as a nice to have.
So this may be your next slide, but the click-through rate presumably comes from the thumbnail primarily.
It comes from 2, and you're right, it is the next slide. It comes from 2 things. It comes from the thumbnail and also the title. And the problem is, you can't really tell whether it's a change in the title or a change in the thumbnail, which is having the lion's share of the effect. But usually the easiest thing to experiment with is the thumbnail. Now, just to give you an example, this thumbnail here from my relationship channel has a 36% click-through rate, which is outstanding. The average is 2 or 3% on YouTube. This one down here has a 1%. So there's a huge difference between the two, but it's often not obvious what that difference is. But we can have a guess at some of them. And I'm also going to show you a couple of tools that can help you make that assessment more quantitatively. But as a general rule, we want the thumbnail to be really high quality. So 1080 by 1920 is the aspect ratio. You can use Canva or you can use Photoshop, any graphics package, but spend some time making the thumbnail look really nice. And Mr. Beast, who I think is currently the biggest YouTube creator, he doesn't make a video unless in advance he's planned what the thumbnail is going to be. So the thumbnail is that important. If you think about it, it's a little bit like putting something in the shop window, isn't it? Unless it looks attractive in the shop window, people are not going to come in and look at it more closely and investigate it and spend time deciding whether or not it's for them. So thumbnails are really critical. Make it stand out. There's no prizes for subtlety. And I would suggest keeping away from putting too much red in your thumbnail. Certainly don't have a red border. The reason for that is YouTube's brand is red, and therefore where you see lists of thumbnails, thumbnails which feature red often get lost in the YouTube branding, whereas something in this instance in a bright green looks nothing like the YouTube branding, so it will stand out. I like to also always put the channel logo on there, at least, so that it's easy when somebody sees your video in a list of other YouTube thumbnails to know that that's one of your videos, and if they're a fan of your videos, then they'll click on it because there's brand recognition there. Faces tend to work well. Here we've got the lady's face, but it's not as prevalent as this lady's face. So on paper, I'd have thought this would have done better, but it just didn't. This one did better. So as I'll show you in a minute, the only way to really tell is to test. Try not to put too much text on the video. YouTube's algorithms will actually read what text you put on there. So what's text is in your thumbnail should complement but not replicate what's in your title. So if you've got a big dissonance between the text on your thumbnail and what's in your title, then YouTube's algorithm is likely to think that is more likely to be clickbait than if they are congruent. A lot to think about, isn't there? The tool that most people use to find out how good their thumbnail on here is a free one that Google offer, which if you go to this URL here, will allow you to upload a copy of your thumbnail, and it will give you an assessment as to whether your thumbnail is likely to ring alarm bells within the YouTube's algorithm. So if you uploaded a video which was a thumbnail which was sexually explicit or contained firearms or things that YouTube doesn't like, then you're likely to get flagged and be presented less often to viewers than people who have got thumbnails which are compliant. And that tool can help you. The only way to really tell which thumbnail of two thumbnails is better is to test it. Test which thumbnail, when presented, gives the best click-through rate. The only tool that I'm aware of on the market that can do that to statistical significance is TubeBuddy. And unfortunately, you need a paid plan, and not only a paid plan, but I think it's the Legend license that you need. So it's not the cheapest of the licenses, but any other A/B testing software out there doesn't understand the concept of statistical significance, and therefore it's difficult to rely upon the results. You can do this manually by looking in your analytics, but if you're serious about getting gains, then using TubeBuddy is my suggestion.
And at what price point is that, the proper one that you need?
I honestly can't remember. I'd prefer not to try and look while I'm presenting in case I use a bit. $50 a month, that sort of level. Yeah. It's not hundreds. Okay. But it makes a huge difference. And I'll show you a couple of A/B tests that I ran on my nursery rhyme channel, one on the thumbnail and one on the title. And you can just see what difference they make. So I ran this one, and these are the two thumbnails that I tried. And there was 118% difference in the click-through rate between these two thumbnails.
I'm guessing number 2 won, bottom one.
Number 2 won, yeah. This one won.
Because the right, as most people read left to right, I think that they wanted to see whatever that verbiage was on the right top.
Yeah, could be.
Maybe.
But often We just don't know. We
Yeah.
just don't know. All you can do is test them. So when I make a new video, I would always make 2 thumbnails, and then I would upload the thumbnail, one thumbnail onto the video, the other thumbnail up into TubeBuddy, and then I would say run a test to statistical significance and choose the one that performs better over that time. And TubeBuddy is brilliant at this, because you don't need to say, run it for 2 weeks or run it for a month. You just say run it until you're convinced that you're 95% confident in the result that you've got, and then stick with the one that works.
How many iterations is that usually?
It really depends entirely on the on the how many views your channel is getting compared to how many views that video is getting compared to how many other views you're getting on the rest of the channel. But if you've got a big channel, sometimes it'll do it in days, sometimes it'll do it in hours. But it's not about the time so much, it's about the number of impressions.
Yep.
But there'll be a minimum number. Now, the great thing about swapping a YouTube thumbnail is that when you change the thumbnail, you don't cause YouTube to re-index the video in search. So you can change thumbnails as much as you want without upsetting things, because if you're not careful, if you change things too often, you risk upsetting something that's already working. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But with thumbnails, there's no consequence, there's no downside of trying different thumbnails. You can try them
because YouTube itself wants you to have a good thumbnail that is relevant and all that other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Because again, think of the shop window. YouTube wants you to have thumbnails that are the most attractive to viewers, so that the viewers choose them, and therefore the advertisers have real estate to put their adverts on there.
Good.
So definitely, if you're serious about this, then split test your thumbnails 100%. The other thing that you can split test with, well, there's many things that you could split test, but we could also split test the title. And here's an example of a very small change that made a huge difference. So I thought, well, I've got title Humpty Dumpty Nursery Rhymes. I know kids like balloons. Let's stick a balloon in front of Humpty Dumpty. That'll make it stand out more, and maybe I'll get a better click-through rate. Turned out to be a bad idea, 120% drop just by putting a balloon in the title. That's niche specific. I found with my love advice channel, putting a love heart at the beginning of the title was very positive. Test. It's your own, what you think and what I think don't matter. It's what they think. And TubeBuddy, again, will do that mathematical test for you. Well worth the money, whatever it costs. I say I forget exactly how much it is. Always test. Okay, so thumbnails and titles. The other big thing we need to talk about is retention. Retention is how long somebody watches a video when they land on your video. And bear in mind, the suggested algorithm is going to take note of the click-through rate, and it's also then going to take note of the retention. So what it's looking for is when somebody lands on your video, they remain interested enough to watch the majority of your video. So the retention curve on the left is really good. Somebody's landed on the video and they've watched it pretty much all the way through. In fact, there are some little bits here where it jumps up slightly, and that's people reversing and rewatching parts of it, which means that I've actually got on this one 111% retention rate. So it's over 100%. Now, this is a short video, and as most of the things that I do, it's done as an experiment. When you're doing your longer videos, don't expect to get 100%. If you can get over 60%, then you're doing very well. But look for 60%, particularly look to avoid this huge drop at the beginning. So this one here, it's a longer video, but only 8.4% average view. It's a huge drop right at the beginning. And this is typically what I see when I go in and I look at people's channels, and I've been doing consultancy, is that there's a big drop at the beginning. And I'm going to show you in a moment some tips as to how to avoid that. And you must avoid it, because if you don't, think of it from YouTube's point of view. You've got a great click-through rate. So your thumbnail's up there, it's attractive, people click on it, and the moment that they click on it, they realize they've made a mistake and they go somewhere else. No advertising time. If you can get high retention, you'll get good watch time, and that will feed into your 4,000 hours for your initial monetization, and you'll also get subscribers because people subscribe to things that they like, and if they like it, they'll watch it. Watch time will be high. But it's also training the suggested algorithm that, wow, people, when they click on this video, they stick around. That means I'm going to suggest it to more people, because it's good business for us if people like this, because it means we can serve more adverts to them. And really, if you can crack click-through rate and you can crack retention, then so long as your videos comply with the guidelines, you're off to the races. So let's have a look at why people have, at least historically, before watching this training session, done badly with retention, because I'm going to show you a typical structure for what I see all the time on YouTube, and I'm sure this will resonate with people if they're YouTube watching, if they watch YouTube regularly. So this is a traditional YouTube structure. People go to Fiverr and they get a logo stinger done, which is like a spinning logo, their branding. Maybe it's 3 seconds, maybe it's 5 seconds. Very, very proud of it, and it's at the beginning of every single video. First thing that I do when I go in and I look at people's channels is I say, get rid of the logo spin at the beginning, because no one cares about your logo apart from you. It's $5 that you spent on Fiverr to destroy your channel. Get rid of it. Then it's all about them, isn't it? Because it's YouTube, so it must be about them. So they talk all about themselves. And then, of course, once they've talked about themselves, then they start begging. So Patreon, buy me a coffee, all that sort of stuff. And then they drop valuable content. And then they signal that the valuable content is over by signing off, saying, goodbye, thank you very much for watching, la, la, la. As soon as somebody says goodbye and thank you for watching, then they've told everybody that there's no point watching anymore, is there? So the way around that is, when you've finished adding value, shut up. It's not your grandma, it's not your mom. You don't need to say goodbye and have a long, painful exit. Just stop talking. People will know it's the end of the video. And then often people have an end screen, and these used to be more popular than they are now, where the last 20 seconds of the video was dedicated to selling people on watching the next video. I'm going to show you.
Or Pete, hitting that 10-minute mark, which used to be the point that they had to get to.
Yeah, there used to be a 10-minute mark that in order to put mid-roll adverts on your videos, you had to hit 10 minutes. It's now been reduced to 8 minutes. But right. Even so, never put padding in. It's better to miss the miss the opportunity to put mid-roll adverts in there than bore your audience and reduce your watch time, and therefore your channel growth. So to be a bit silly to make the point, I've written a script that people would normally use for this kind of thing, and I'm hoping now you can see why this is bad. Title, boring title, how to grow mushrooms at home. Then a 5-second intro. Whoops, where have I gone? Come back. And then, thank you for watching. I'm Mushy Morris, and I started growing mushrooms many years ago and have found it a fascinating hobby. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how to grow mushrooms at home. But first, please take a moment to subscribe to my channel and like this video, as it really helps grow my channel. I'm saving up for a new potting shed, so I really appreciate it. Things have been tough since I lost my job. The dog died, and my wife left me for Toady Thomas. Anyway, mushrooms come in a wide variety of shapes, sizes, colors. I'm boring myself already reading it, but you will have heard people do intros like this. And this is what happens to their retention curve. By the time that logo sting is over, that 5-second intro, most people are out of here, and then they just lose the will to live. That's if they get a click in the first place, because that's not a very compelling title, is it?
Nope.
Okay, here's a better structure. I call this the value bomb structure, where we start the video with a hook. We then go straight into the valuable content. We salt the content all the way through. And by salting it, I mean we keep selling them on keeping watching. I forget who told me this, but they said that you can take a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Well, you can if you put salt in the bucket. So always keep them thirsty for more. And then rather than have a separate bit right at the very end where you say goodbye and then you put the end screen on there, weave the end screen into the story that you're telling. So, you know, something along the lines of, now your mushrooms are growing, you'll want to watch this video which tells you how to look after them for the best yield or whatever. So make the next video part of the current video so that it's natural that they're going to follow on. Again, think of this like when you're watching a Netflix series, you want to know what's coming next. So build into this video the fact that it's inevitable they're going to watch the next video, and then put a link to the next video on there. It's just a good tactic. And then what we hope is that we get a retention curve which is much more linear, and maybe sometimes they'll even go back and rewind if you've made a good point and they've missed it.
Yep.
I mean, it's easily possible to get 60%, and I have seen people get over 100% even on videos which are over 8 minutes long. So by contrast, here's a much shorter and punchier script which has a similar sort of intention to get viewers on growing mushrooms. So this is better. Title: How to grow your mushrooms at home, and then in brackets, results within 24 hours guaranteed. So there's a reason now to watch this video amongst a myriad of other videos, because there's a value promise in here. And you start off with an NLP pattern interrupt, which means that you don't start at the beginning of a story. You start with a shock, or you start with something that people are not expecting. So here we go. I'll never forget the look on Fred's face. I've been growing mushrooms for nearly 20 years, but it was Fred's first time. His jaw literally dropped when he opened his potting shed door and saw his mushrooms were already starting to appear less than 24 hours after I'd shared the same tips with him as I'm going to share with you now. Stick around until the end, as the last one is guaranteed to get your results super fast. So what we're doing in here is we're starting with a story. We're starting with, you know, rather than once upon a time, we're going straight into something that people are not expecting. We're then promising results, and then we're rather blatantly in this instance, but you could be a bit more subtle, saying stick around until the end because the last one's the best. So we're encouraging people to stay with the video, and that type of structure will really help get your retention up, which will help with everything else in terms of getting your channel to start growing. It's a bit blatant and it's a bit over the top, but does that contrast at least show you what you should be aiming for as opposed to the initial one?
Yep, very much so.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so really, I want to crystallize this into some key points, which is, first of all, decide on your monetization strategy, of which there are many. And AdSense is not the only game in town. In fact, for a new channel, I would say it's probably not the one that you should be focusing on. Focus on one of the other models. And if it was me, I'd go for affiliate marketing whilst your channel is growing to the point that you then get monetized with your 1,000 subscribers and your 4,000 hours of view time. Concentrate on search to start with, and then move into suggested. And again, this lends itself quite well to the affiliate marketing because it's very easy to get found for things such as Pictory or other products. Test your thumbnails and your titles. You can either do that through analytics if you want to do it manually, or I would suggest once you've got started, it's well worth the investment in TubeBuddy to do it automatically, and concentrate on retention rather than necessarily begging for subscribers. Because if you're spending the time that you could be adding value to your customers, your viewers, by begging for subscribers, then that detracts from your overall mission, which is to grow your channel, which will ultimately end up in subscribers subscribing anyway. People know how YouTube works. They don't always have to be told. Anything which I've missed off of there, Fred, do you think?
No, I think you pretty much nailed it. I want to let people know, and I've seen that our dropout rate has been very low, but we've gone long, but this is only because we're trying to give you as much possible value as is humanly possible.
Oh yeah, I don't mind going long. I'd sooner go long than miss things out. And
Yep.
That's definitely. Okay, so as usual, and as is traditional now, let's set some homework, because home thinking isn't the same as home working.
Yeah.
So what I want you to do is go into your analytics and check the click-through rates on your videos. Aim to get at least north of 2% or 5%, between 2% and 5%. If you're doing over 10%, you're doing well. If you're doing over 20%, you're doing outstandingly well. 20% is not unheard of. And again, it does tend to be niche. specific, but you know, let's aim for 10%. If we can get 10%, we're doing well. Try new thumbnails and new titles. If you've got the budget, maybe you want to try out TubeBuddy. Create some playlists and add videos. Even if you've got playlists, create some more playlists and optimize them, put plenty of keywords in the titles and the descriptions. And then think about your script writing. Write at least one high retention script and make a video based upon that script. And if you do those things and you do them consistently, and your channel is of high quality, your channel is going to grow, because it's in everybody's interest for it to grow, not just your interest.
Well,
Quick look at what we're talking about next week, and then we'll leave it at that unless you've got any other questions. So next week we're going to talk about ChatGPT. We're going to talk about how to use Pictory to make some of these videos. In fact, I'm going to have one of my colleagues from Pictory join us and do a demonstration. We're going to talk about how to produce ninja videos, and again, I'll give you some homework, some takeaways.
beautiful. A lot of information in a very short period of time. I know that for me, and like I said, whether we make it a bonus session or something, I'd like to have you walk through some of my things, because I think it might be very interesting to show some things start to finish, but we can talk about that offline as well.
Yeah, sure. And don't forget, not this week, but next week we've got the Q&A session, haven't we? So
we do
that as well.
Perfect.
Right, we've gone long, we've gone in hard. I think that's probably it for today. I'd just like to thank everybody for staying with us. I shouldn't really be saying that's the end, should I? But this isn't YouTube, so I can say that. And so thank you very much for your support as always. And same time next week.
We'll see you next week. Thank you.
Right. Bye for now. Bye-bye.